Hey everybody, I'm Katallina, and today we're here to talk about episode 6 of the Misfit of Demon King Academy, season 2, core 2. This episode seems to wrap up all of the stuff that we've been watching for the past 6 episodes, and I think that it generally did a really good job. I'm gonna start by talking about Emilia because I'm really surprised to be saying this, but she ended up being one of my favorite things about the story so far this season, which is hilarious because, as I've said in previous discussion videos, she was never a favorite of mine, and I actually found her really annoying, and I was actually really shocked to see her actually approaching Anos or being given some kind of chance to do any kind of redemption to begin with. I mean, I'm glad that he did. It leans into his character, but I'm really impressed with how much that over the past several episodes we've seen it impact her character. And I think that it all comes really full circle with what happened by the end of this episode, because the Emilia that we saw in season 1 and the Emilia that we saw at the start of this story, even in this season, is not the same person that we see at the end. And the results of what happens to her character by the end would not be perceived as any form of a reward or a positive experience for the person that we saw earlier in the story. I really liked the fact that her students came forward and were very eager to stand up for her and were very upset about the idea that she might be going anywhere. And I also thought that it was really clever and funny that Anos already knew what he was going to do as far as what she was going to have happen at the end, and yet he started off talking to her as if the stuff that he had offered her in the beginning was what he was going to do. So in a way it was like a final test of sorts to see just who she ended up being, and she passed with flying colors. And I am so happy for the students of the Hero Academy, and I am so happy for Emilia, because in their own flawed imperfections they all help each other, and they've all helped each other to build and grow in absolutely tremendous ways. And I don't think there's any way the story for her and for them could have possibly ended any better. Adding on to that, of course, we have to talk about the pukey headmaster who was causing so much trouble throughout this part of the season, and how he got exactly what he had coming to him, which was very, very satisfying because I absolutely hated his guts, and to find out just how much trouble he had actually caused everybody and just how responsible he was for the general misery of everything that had gone down was amazing. And then to see that Anos, of course, is 6 steps ahead and took care of everything, and that he ends up saying all this stuff and he gets to pretend that he is king, and he's all talking about how he wants to execute Emilia, and it's just a gigantic nah. And then he gets taken away kicking and screaming by the guards, and who knows what's gonna happen to him, and frankly, who cares? I'm a little concerned for the overall continuation of the people of the Hero Society. I'm glad to see that Emilia is going to be the new headmaster, but I mean, these people are used to living in a monarchy and there's no longer any form of secession. So it is partially interesting and concerning to me how they're going to move forward, but I don't think that's what we're going to necessarily be focusing on for the time being. It's just a thought that I had because I'm interested in social issues and politics, and that kind of thing is usually where my mind goes about stuff. The absolute scumbastard who was dragging Arcana around on a leash got exactly what he had coming to him as well. I keep using that phrase over and over again, but so much happened and so much was resolved in this episode. It really seems like we have a clear, reasonably at least, split between what we've been seeing and what we'll potentially be seeing going forward. But it was really interesting to see how Anos was using the idea that the rules that have been made up for the sword, for this selection thing, for this whole question that he had been asked by Arcana about the concept of an almighty and everything, how they resolved it, and essentially that, to me it almost seemed like it was like Schrodinger's sword. It was like, oh my god, because all the different ways Anos used the sword without using the sword and losing his source were hilarious. I think my favorite part of this whole situation though was him getting that collar to work on the guy and being like, yeah, you're gonna have to renounce every ounce of your faith and you're gonna have all these nightmares and everything. And of course the guy was able to succeed and come back quickly because he never had any faith to begin with. Because this is something that happens a lot in various social circles and religious situations where people who have no actual true belief in something will try to like infiltrate it and try to corrupt it with their own values. It's something that's happened all throughout history, and to see it acknowledged here again is another situation where we see the Misfit of Demon King Academy being incredibly smart. I also really liked how Anos worked with Arcana to make sure that she wouldn't actually have to die, and it really showed several very interesting things. We learn about Arcana's past and about the fact that she made the mistake of engaging in what, there's this guy, his name is Gadsad, he's a professor, and he calls this idea suicidal empathy, which is when your desire to be kind or compassionate or good actually extends to such a point that you start doing things that are going to destroy you and the people around you, which in essence is what Arcana did in trying to revive this person and not being able to, and then lying about it and everything. She ended up making a really big mess of things, but she didn't do it because she was an evil person or because she was trying to engage in malice, but rather because she genuinely wanted to help. And so many times there are things throughout history where we see someone wanting to do something and having what they think are the best of intentions, but those intentions leading to the absolute worst and most nightmarish of results, because people get so wrapped up in their own perception of right and wrong or of how things should be that they can't really see past the end of their own nose. What I also like about this whole situation, though, is the fact that despite the fact that Arcana made these mistakes and everything, Anos was very concerned about whether or not the current situation was of her choosing or was something that that guy was doing, and also like what her role in it was and everything. And I love the fact that Anos again shows that he is the kind of character where when somebody screws up, Anos isn't going to throw you under the bus. Anos wants you to own up to your own mistakes, take accountability for them, and actually move forward and live. Anos, in almost every situation possible that we see him in, tries and strives to choose life for himself and for others, which is one of the reasons that I love him so much. And actually, it really ties back when you think about what his whole backstory is and everything, because Anos is somebody who gave up his own life in order to try and facilitate the idea of peace, and then came back and he's still trying to ensure the continuation of that good experience for people. And I really think that's beautiful. The ending where they go home and we get a little bit of a moment with Anoshu and with Emilia was cute, and where we also get a moment with Anos and his mom, that was adorable. I always like the mom. It's weird because when I started the series and I first met the mom, I was like, whoa. But I'm so used to her as a character at this point that I just laugh when she reacts to things in certain ways or when the dad reacts to things in certain ways. So it was really cute to see him getting back to being around these people that he genuinely loves and cares about, because I'm sure that he misses them when he goes and when he does things, because that's just a normal way of being. But overall, I think that this episode was really good at wrapping up a lot of key stuff. I think we have lots to look forward to in the second half of the season. I really have enjoyed talking about this, and I really have enjoyed seeing how this story has come around and everything, especially since it has so many themes of redemption and of the idea that you don't have to be perfect to matter. You don't have to be perfect to be somebody that we should care about, cheer for, and strive to like encourage to do better. There's no reason for anyone to ever feel that way. I mean, it's one thing to want to do your best, to want to strive forward, but it should never come at the cost of thinking that you're worthless, of thinking you don't matter, or of thinking that people should be able to mistreat you. And I'm really glad that they dealt with those situations, especially with the kids at the school. I just absolutely loved that. I know that was the last couple episodes, but it just really got to me. And the way it tied into the ending with Emilia, that really was my favorite part of the episode, and I absolutely loved it. Anyway, I would love to know what you guys thought of this episode, what stood out to you, and what you're looking forward to going forward. So, leave a comment below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!